Welcome back to week 11 of Trust and Spectacular Picks for the 2025 NFL season, and it continues to heat up as we get closer to Thanksgiving. How's everyone doing? I hope that answer is well, good, or whatever that may be in a positive manner. We're back for week 11, which also includes the first NFL game in a new country. On the other hand, there's a lot of competitive matchups to preview and make picks on, as we have 15 games on the table with 2 teams on a bye week. And after that, we will continue our elimination challenge and we'll look at our league standings for the Pick'em League, we'll look at the results, and obviously our trends as well. And then after that, we'll head to the replay booth, look back at week 10. It should be a fun time as always, so let's get this thing started. I'm going to try to go fairly quick with these games. Coming into this game, you can argue both of these sides did pick up big wins on Sunday. However, I would say one opponent is significantly stronger than the other here, and that would be the home side. The Jets are finally gaining some traction, but the Patriots enter this game appearing as completely unstoppable right now. And to get this one out of the way, I don't think the Jets are going to get blown out, but this one should belong to the Patriots as Drake May continues to step it up. While the FIFA international break is ongoing, the La Liga leaders, Real Madrid, will see the first NFL game in Spain in their stadium between the Washington Commanders and the Miami Dolphins. Washington comes in this game still looking pretty much lost, and they go into this game with less time to settle in after playing in a primetime game under the lights recently. Miami Dolphins, on the other hand, pulled off their biggest win of the year, which I feel that is credited to the coaching staff. They're finally looking good, and due to the momentum, I'm going to pick the Dolphins to win the first NFL game in Spain. This game is quite massive for both sides, which they're both in the same division. Atlanta's looking for redemption after losing to Carolina earlier this year, as they are currently behind them in the standings. Things haven't gone great for either side, as we've seen plenty of inconsistency, but the Falcons do have a better rounded off football team, and it's odd that they lost to them earlier this year, even getting shut out in a blowout, because they were favored in many stats, and it's hard for me to believe Carolina will pull something off like this again, but we've been proven wrong many times, or countless amount of times, by the Carolina Panthers. Either way, I'm still going to pick Atlanta. I don't think the panic button's being pressed for the Buccaneers, unlike the Bills. Going into this game, both teams have lost AFC East opponents, and neither of them look good, but especially Buffalo. And it's really odd, but I am disappointed in both of these sides right now because of their quality. But for me, I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did good things offensively, but they slacked defensively, and the Bills, they just didn't look good at all. And anything can truly happen here. I can come up with countless scenarios, but I'm going to slide out with the boys in Tampa, Florida, to win this one in a close contest on the road. The Chargers are doing really good right now, and they're up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have fallen off a cliff. They have the most unacceptable loss of the entire season, blowing a 29-10 lead with about 10 minutes left, let alone allowing 26 points and not scoring at all, to be all in that span of time, which is insane. Okay. The Chargers are doing really good right now, and they're going to be up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have fallen off a cliff. They had the most unacceptable loss of the entire season, blowing a 29-10 lead with about 10 minutes left, let alone they allowed 26 points without scoring any points, and that is just insane. They're not going to have Travis Hunter for the rest of the year, so that's going to hurt this team much more. This team has continued to perform badly week after week. The Chargers have to take care of business, which they have, and I expect that again, especially with them chasing down the Denver Broncos. The Chicago Bears are having a rematch of a game that they managed to drop in week 1 against the Minnesota Vikings. The Bears are now up there for first tie with the Lions, but their wins have been concerning. This team hasn't had ideal performances, and it feels like luck has been on their side. Minnesota Vikings, they're starting to pick it up. I know this is a divisional opponent, which they know that, and they have won those big games. And I don't know what it is, but for some reason, I'm sensing an Aaron Jones big-time performance and Justin Jefferson to wake up, and that's going to end up getting the Vikings a surprise victory once again. Do I go for the upset here? This week, we'll see Jameis Winston enter the fold as he'll be the new starting quarterback for the time being for the New York Giants, as we know he's been waiting for this moment. We know he won't have his top wide receiver and running back. On the other end, Green Bay, I would say they're battling through the trenches, and it feels like scoring's becoming a struggle again. However, it's their defensive efforts which allow them to compete every game. And I want them to be better defensively, and I think there's a big opportunity here. So I'm going to pick the Packers, but watch out. It'd be real unfortunate if Joe Flacco beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 3 times in a season. We know they can do a lot offensively with the veteran quarterback in Joe Burrow is getting closer to returning, but their main problem all season has been the amount of points that they concede. I said all of this last time and Pittsburgh lost because they allowed too many points. I've also said at this time as well, I don't know what we'll get from the Pittsburgh Steelers at this point. Either way, I'm going to go for it. Pittsburgh wins, and we see a big game from DK Metcalf, which has been missing for a while, and that the offense ends up stepping up. To be honest, Houston had zero business winning that last game, but they did. Now they'll go on the road looking for another win against the Tennessee Titans in Nashville. The Titans are looking better, but definitely not close enough to win against better opponents for the most part, which is why they're also last, and they did pull off that weird victory against Arizona earlier this year. The Titans, they have scored the least amount of points in the league, which is 9 points behind the Raiders. Houston may have not played an ideal game, but it does feel like the previous one was a big boost, knowing they can get back up to 500 with another one and get past Jacksonville and make a late run. The Texans have also conceded the least amount of points in the league, and this sets up a recipe for failure for the Titans and success for the Texans to win. The 49ers indeed did not win over the Rams, and it appears Brock Purdy is about to come back in business. It'll be a change and an interesting one as he'll go up against his hometown team, the Arizona Cardinals, who went down big time against Seattle. They'll have it easier, but I don't think it's going to be easy anyways. I'm extremely concerned with the Cardinals on the defensive side of the ball now, while the 49ers, they're stepping up as well, but we can understand why on that aspect. And we'll see what happens in this game, but expect a typical NFC West game, and we'll see the 49ers come on top late, but this one will be close as I think special teams will factor in. The battle in the NFC West continues, and someone's going to go down most likely. The Seahawks pay a visit to the Rams, and it will probably be crazy. The Rams look like the team we expected, and we've seen them make some changes ahead of the trade deadline to keep going forward. Seattle's in a solid situation also, but I believe it's going to come down to who can be better offensively. While Darnold will feed Smith with the ball, Kupp needs to step it up in his homecoming game, if you want to call it that. The Rams can throw, catch, and run, which I feel that's going to overwhelm Seattle in the long run, and the Rams will win it. The Ravens had a slow start last week, but they turned the Jets on late. They'll go up against the Browns, who aren't looking very good right now after allowing special teams to dictate them losing last week. I'm not sure how that happens again, so I don't believe it will. I thought they were good defensively. And it's going to be, a defense versus offense, I feel. This is a divisional matchup. It can go either way, but I feel Baltimore will capitalize on a strong start and carry on the momentum to chase down the Steelers. This game is quite massive. If the Chiefs don't win, it makes their chances in a tough division even harder. If the Broncos don't win, they'll likely fall behind in their division to the Chargers. I thought the Chiefs were looking solid, but then they had that loss against Buffalo, which they weren't bad in, but they could have been a little better. And I expect that in this game again, but the Denver Broncos won't be easy to push off. While we don't got the ideal players performing to their potential, I think others have stepped up for the Broncos. I am concerned as, yes, they're on a 7-game winning streak after losing the first 2 of the year, but they were close to losing over half of these games. Something's going to have to click, and I don't know what it's going to be, but I think for the Broncos, they'll manage to defy the odds, and something will have to click, and I don't know what that is, but I think the Broncos will manage to defy the odds this time around and pull off a win at home against the Chiefs, and we'll see a big game from Bo Nix and his wide receiver. The Lions, I thought, responded to the loss very well. The Eagles are coming to this game after pulling off an away win in really bad fashion. And it feels like we're starting to see the same stuff as the start of the season earlier this year. I believe the Lions will be up to the task everywhere offensively. It's going to be up to Philadelphia to counter that defensively and find ways to be creative more than just a tush-push. It surely wasn't the worst game for Jalen Hurts this year, but it wasn't great again. But he did have a reception touchdown to Devontae Smith. I think they'll be fine, but I have the Lions winning this due to their offense. That said, we have a competitive Monday Night Football game on our hands. Dallas Cowboys, who struggle on the road and lost their first home game of the year a couple weeks ago, right before their bye week return to action. They need to hit the reset button because they only have 3 wins on the year, and they have that tie, if you want to call that a flex. And as mentioned, the road struggles, they're real, but maybe that turns around coming out of the bye. The Las Vegas Raiders, on the other hand, they've looked okay since returning from their bye week, but they've managed to lose both of those games in nail-biters. I believe we'll get another one of those, but this is a team that did trade away Jacoby Myers, which gives you an idea what this team's plans is for the remainder of the year. It may be more of a run-heavy game for them, but I believe the Cowboys will try to go out and swing at the Raiders offensively, and they may have some struggles, but I think they'll do enough and have a good offensive showing to pull off the win. For the tiebreaker, which is that Monday Night Football game, as mentioned, I have 37 points being scored. This one will result in a 20-17 scoreline in favor of the Dallas Cowboys. Should be a wild one. I actually feel pretty confident about this scoreline, so it's probably going to be Brandon Aubrey who crushes the scoreline with all his field goals. Let's be real here. All right, we're on to the Eliminator Challenge. I'm very happy we're still alive after the first no game of the year. Almost killed my chances, but you can say the Bears got lucky. Anyways, for this week, we didn't have a lot of options, but for this week, I looked at 2 different teams, but it came down to one, and I mentioned why earlier. And for week 11, I'm selecting the Houston Texans. It's a divisional battle, but we talked about how earlier the Titans have scored the least amount of points in the league, while Houston has conceded the least amount of points. The Titans defense, it's not like much better, but it's definitely better. I don't see this being a push-off, but I do think Houston will continue to carry on with their momentum as they have and continue to win. All right, so now we're going to look at how we did in Week 10. So for the results, it's a 3-way tie for first. I did not win that 3-way tie, unfortunately. That goes to head guy. Then you have myself in second, and then Joshua is in third. So pretty competitive. Zach ended up dropping a little bit. And then you got the other somewhat stragglers, Max. You got Michael and Lucas. So I'm sorry, guys. As mentioned, when we look at the table, I'm still leading because I'm just that good. Zach has fallen behind, literally just by 1 game, but at this point in the year, it's going to get a little crazy with this pick'em league thing, and then we got, head guy, we got Max, we got Joshua, so I would say it's going to be between these top 5, but I just can't choke it away. And then comparing how we did, so we went 100% on only 4 of the games, which is quite disappointing. And then we also went 0% on 4 of the games. So not the most ideal scenario. We saw that Buffalo-Miami game be a complete shocker. Not surprised the Patriots beat the Bucs, but surprised that nobody chose to pick the Patriots. The Saints beating the Carolina Panthers, you can say that was a shock to extent. But the Jacksonville and Houston one, that was the real one. And also, I forgot, I'm almost to 100 wins this year, so we'll get it next week, unless I get everything wrong. Now let's head to the Week 10 replay booth and see how I feel about my sayings, because I did have some bad moments, but then also some really good moments too. But it'll also be a new look Jaguars team. It's time to see others step up for this team, honestly. And can they do it? I say why not?
But this one's going to go down to the
I
wire.
didn't mean come down to the wire
Bills
like it
are at
literally
all
did. That
cylinders,
was
but what will
crazy.
make Daniel get out of the Miami Dolphins this time?
And for this
after they
game,
fired their GM?
I would say Mike
It's a really good
McDaniel got
question,
everything out of
which
the Miami
does make
Dolphins,
this game
so
competitive.
good job.
But straight up, I would say the Jets are doomed.
Maybe they're
We'll see
not
what
doomed.
Adding a wide
I
receiver
think
does,
they're
but the
kind of
Browns are
alive,
now the
but at
defensive
the same
presence,
time,
and
not
the
really.
Jets. We'll just have to see how all things play out, but I just
I'm gonna be
can't see
honest,
the
after this
Steelers
game,
beating
really
the
impressed
Chargers
with the Chargers this year.
So I'm choosing the Chicago Bears.
We need
I
to be
believe
careful
they'll have
with
a good
these
offensive
big
showing,
weather
and like I
games,
said
as I
earlier,
mentioned last week.
the ask from the New York Giants players is
We're going to be a little more careful
more
this
due to
time.
injuries
Look at
stacking
weather
up,
reports more.
and that means
Thanks for watching this Week 11 edition of Tristan's Spectacular Picks. I hope you enjoy this video. As always, leave a like and subscribe button if you haven't. And that will do it for me. We'll see you for Week 12. Take care, y'all.